what you're going to do. So I'm going to move this brayer a little bit out of the way and talk to you about the ink. It's always good to get to know what it is you're working with. So I'm going to squeeze out a blob. I don't know, maybe that's a 3/4 teaspoon, a teaspoon of black ink, and I'm going to squish it a little bit. All right. One of the reasons is I simply want to get it loaded onto my palette knife. So now I've got some along the edge of my palette knife. I'm going to put my brayer out, and I'm going to pull across a width of ink. I'm actually going to scoop this up and move it over here. But I'm going to take a width that is, or what I call a rand of ink, grab some more ink, and pull it so that it's pretty even from left to right or right to left, and that it's basically the same width as your brayer. So I'm going to set this down here. I'm going to grab my brayer, and I'm going to start rolling this out. Like I said, for San Francisco, it's pretty toasty today, so I'm moving a little bit faster than I might otherwise want to. I want to see if you can notice, hopefully, that there's more texture here. You'll see there's more of a pebbling texture here. Over here, there's almost none. So that means this side has more ink than that side. I want this to be as even as possible. So I'm actually going to turn this puppy, what is that, 90 degrees? So that I'm coming in from the other side. And I'm trying to even this out, because the more evenly it's distributed on my brayer, the more evenly and quickly it will be distributed, sorry about that, I just hit it, onto my plate. So now I grab my little plate, dun, 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 and I'm rolling my brayer over it. And I'm going to hold it up to you, because I want you to see, you kind of notice that there's the black of the ink, and then there's this grayed area. The brayer isn't dropping down into that section. So I'm not going to let it intimidate me. I'm going to recharge my brayer. I'm going to turn my plate 90 degrees. Oh, the other degree was 180. Sorry. I'm so bad with my angles. So I'm rolling, as I always say, go the 4 directions. So turn your plate and then take the brayer across it. You can even kind of tilt your brayer so it kind of angles along an edge if some little areas seem to be missing out on getting inky goodness. And then roll it across again. And like I said, it is warm today. This is water-based ink, so I gotta move a little bit faster than I normally would. I'm setting my plate aside. You are gonna have more space, hopefully, next to you. So you can just go ahead and print to your left or to your right. So I'm just moving this to the back of my desk. Now I'm grabbing my little plate, and I hope you can see that, because I can't see my screen. I'm doing this kind of blindly. And then I put the paper down, all right? And I just give it what I call a loving tap. And then I grab the Baron, and I should have gotten another piece of paper, and I can't see one. There we go. Ad-libbing here. So I got another sheet of newsprint, and now I'm rubbing. And the camera's moving all over the place. Hope you don't get seasick, but it's just how the workspace is right now. So I'm using the Baron to put a general pressure over the entire piece of paper as I smash it up against the plate. So you can see it. There's what the pressure of the Baron can do right now. What I'm going to do is now take the drawer pull, and this way of inking, I shouldn't say this way, but water-based ink, to be absolutely honest, is new to me. So we're going to do problem solving together, as we live in toasty world and we have less time to get the ink to transfer to our paper. we might try some different things, like maybe we'll talk a little bit later about dampening your paper so that the paper has some moisture, and that will help that ink to stay, you know, soft and transferable a little bit longer. So let's just take a peek, see what I got going here. Oh, that's not too bad. So now I can see that, oh yeah, that transfer is happening. So I'm going to put it down again. And it is warm today. So this is a series of strokes using the drawer pull, and those strokes overcast one another. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm pressing down firmly. My left hand is being sure to hold the paper down as I move around with the drawer pull. And this is a drawer pull pressure that would be kind of like a deep massage. Wouldn't be screaming painful sort of pressure, but you know, it would be noticeable. So I'm also, you can see I'm kind of embossing the edge of the paper. So let's see what I got. And we'll go for it. There's my proof. So there's my plate. Here's my proof. I'm going to put this here to just kind of hold it. And you'll notice that whoop, they are mirror image. So there's my growing paw. I'm developing my paw. There's this little face. And this is something, it's called a proof. And it's what you use to help yourself see what your continued carving is producing. So here's a proof that I pulled 2 days ago, and then this is obviously the proof that I just pulled right now, and you can see that the values and the patterning are changing given that I did additional carving. So that's the whole point of the proofing, and that's something that I hope you take advantage of. You can see that ink likes to get lots of different places, so again, you can wear gloves when you do this, or you can be cleaner than I've been. So I'm going to set this aside, and then we're going to talk about cleanup. Your little plate, you have a damp sponge, and you can do this if you've got a utility sink. Don't put your plate under the water, but if you're at a utility sink, then you can rinse, or a sink where nobody minds if there's a little bit of black ink in it for a little bit. You can just rinse your sponge. Okay, so you can see that the sponge, the dampened sponge, is picking up that ink. And then you can take a paper towel or a rag and you dry it off. So now I can see that I'm back to the plate, all right? And then when it comes to cleanup of your ink area, this I definitely suggest you do by a sink. If there's extra ink, and definitely don't take out more than like a tablespoon of ink, especially when it's hot out, because you're just going to waste your ink. But I can't put that back. And you could get some plastic wrap maybe and put plastic wrap over it if you were going to continue to do some proofing and see if that preserves it. But if you're done, just go ahead and get a paper towel and wipe up the bigger quantities of the black ink. Same with your palette knife. And throw that away, and then grab your sponge. And what I want you to start out with is the brayer. So take that dampened sponge and wipe it across the surface of the brayer. It's kind of soothing, even when it's warm outside. So I'm moving my sponge around. And again, it's just damp. It's not sopping wet, but there's enough water on the sponge to help to dissolve that ink that we rolled onto it. And now I'm moving the sponge across and also spinning my little brayer. Set this puppy down and then take the paper towel. And it's going to stain, so the inks will somewhat stain the brayer, but it should not be black. All right, it basically will be a little bit grayed, and that's perfectly fine. All right, so I probably go back down to a sink, rinse out my sponge, take it across the brayer one more time, and then right away take the paper towel over it, or the rag. If you have a super special rag, you can do it with that as well. This I would take down to the sink, and I'd rinse off all of this and rinse out my sponges. And so that is it. That is your proofing demo, and we'll go over this together. So as always, note some questions that you might have, and we'll go over them together. Thank you very much.